Hello everyone, Piumarola here from Thinklinkers, and I'm really excited to start this 2024 with a new LinkedIn session. This time, we're going to talk about a crucial topic for every organization and for every individual: sustainability. Now, of course, sustainability is a topic that in Europe, it's very much heartfelt. Speaking from Prague in the Czech Republic here. But to begin with, I'm curious to know, where are you coming from? Write in the comment. Let's see where you're coming from. Here it's a wonderful afternoon of a pretty sunny day, still chilly, but a pretty sunny day in Prague. And just comment below where you're coming from. Now, sustainability, as we were saying. We've been talking about artificial intelligence in the past. We had several sessions because, again, it's an indeed crucial topic. But if we think about the most important topics of 2024, sustainability is definitely one of them. There are many drivers and many reasons for organizations to be sustainable. There is just no other option than to be sustainable. So I'm really excited today to tackle a different side of sustainability, understanding how pretty much the data and information can support the efforts that organizations are taking in sustainability. So the topic of today is driving sustainability with PIM. Once again, we're going to talk about product information management. And once again, we're going to have an amazing guest. We're going to have Juergen Mueller and Bissmeyer from Viamedici, who will share their experience and, of course, what they have seen with their own customers and partners when it comes to PIM and sustainability, and create a strong, clear link for all of you to understand how to combine the strengths of both. So, moving forward, let us invite on stage Juergen Mueller and Bissmeyer. Hi, Juergen. Hi, Al. How are you doing there?
Yeah, hi, Pio. Yeah, we're doing great. Thanks for inviting us.
Doing great. Good to see you, Pio.
Fantastic. Fantastic. It's great to start this new year with such a great topic. It's we seem to be seeing more and more legislations, more and more information about sustainability coming every month. So it's I'm really curious to hear what is your perspective about them. But to begin with, let's start with a short introduction for both of you. Tell us something about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Juergen Müller. Have a background in engineering and also in business consulting, and started my own company quite a while ago. And I'm a co-founder of Viamedici software, specialized in product information management, master data management. We are on the market now for more than 20 years, hundreds of customers, mainly mid-size, large, very large global organizations. And this means that we are really permanently dealing with all those topics, and also are, when discussing things with our customers, are very close to the market and their requirements. So really having a good feeling on what is coming, what is the next thing, what people drives around at the moment.
And I'm Bissmeyer. I'm the vice president with Viamedici, and I've been in the IT space for about 30 years and have been working with companies on emerging technologies and solution sets that are real and manageable and show results. I've been fortunate enough to I have worked with a number of customers that have won some awards in this space. And like Juergen, I've been in the MDM and PIM space for quite some time. So very familiar with a lot of the challenges that organizations are facing in this arena.
Very good. Very good. Now, when you speak to your customers, or generally speaking, what do you see as the main drivers for sustainability? Why do companies need to be sustainable?
Yeah, well, so it's actually several drivers. So definitively, it is a very big topic at the moment. So really, almost for everybody, and not just now. So it's already for several years, and it will continue and become even more important over the coming years. There are several drivers actually for it. So one driver is really simply some overall changes in people and consumer behavior. So it is really that people demand more social responsibility from enterprises, from organizations, from governments, but also from the products they want to buy. So they're simply interested and they care for it, and they're also a bit worried about the future in general. So this is simply just from the demand side. The topic is very important. Then, of course, we also have regulators. So there are increasing regulations you need to comply with, and they also create some pressure. You simply have to fulfill those requirements, otherwise you have troubles to stay in the market, sell your products, be successful. This simply creates pressure from the legal side. And then I would say also more and more important, also from the investors and shareholders. So you just need to look on all those investment funds specialized on only environmental friendly topics and enterprises, etc. So also here, it's the same. So people are rethinking, and they of course also notice business is moving in the direction. So when investors invest money, preferred in environmental friendly enterprises, this also means that they expect that this is a kind of competitive advantage in the future, otherwise they wouldn't do it. So there's significant pressure also coming from the investment side. So it's these three different levels that simply create this overall power and push for environmental friendly technologies, enterprises, etc., sustainability in general.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that's happened is, while I guess in the past several years, sustainability has been a hot topic, and it's an area that companies and consumers are actually focusing in on. But I think what's actually changing, and Juergen touched upon this, is really the regulatory compliance requirements that are going on in Europe and North America and California. And if you kind of look at it, they're really kind of a few different areas. One is the European Commission is really pushing for digital product passport, which really has a full life cycle traceability in terms of products and their impact on the environment and their ability to be sold within Europe. And that has timelines that are associated with it, 2026, 2030. So there's some very strong teeth in there. They're actually even starting to do some of that reporting with battery technology this year, and they'll be doing it into 2025. So that's one side of the gamut. And then in the United States, the SEC is kind of looking at reporting capabilities relative to environmental impact on kind of what they call scope 1 and scope 2, and as well as scope 3, and kind of what those are. And that's actually also taking place in Europe under a different standard, where you look at what the impact of various product sets are within your organization. Some of them are direct cost, where your environmental impact with regards to direct things that you're doing. And then you have indirect, which is scope 2, which is like I'm buying energy or that type of thing. And then you have scope 3, which really gets into your supply chain, your cost of transportation, and everything that's affiliated with products and that type of thing. And so that's coming down the pike. Those have hard dates with 2028, 2030, 2035, and going to 2050. So companies can see that it's coming. And then you have those groups that are even more advanced, like California, which has come out and said, hey, this stuff has to be done by 2026. And they're actually really doing reporting on environmental impact ahead of both Europe as well as the United States. I mean, they're way up there in terms of scope 1, 2, and 3 and their requirements. So the pressure is there to be compliant and to be ready to be compliant. So it's not just a consumer thing, it's also a regulatory thing that's going to have some teeth that's associated with it, and it's going to affect your ability to sell in those marketplaces.
Yeah, absolutely. And sustainability is not necessarily a new topic. It is hot, but it's not a new topic. But before, you could just say you were sustainable. You could just change the wrapping around your product and say you're sustainable. And all these regulations seem to really point out that we're done with this. We need to you need to start reporting. You need data to back up certain a certain commitment to sustainability, isn't it?
Yes, as a matter of fact, so one of the things that a lot of these regulatory groups are requiring as part of this is something called assurance. And what assurance means is that you have a third party that comes in and actually validates that the information around the product information that you're providing, or the carbon footprint or energy consumption that you're using, is actually there, or that these are the costs that are associated from a transportation perspective. So, and there's dates that are associated with that as well. So there's some companies that are saying, okay, for limited assurance, which means you don't have all the details and paperwork by a third party, that compliance is kind of being looked at in terms of 2025, 2026. But then when you get into more detailed or reliable assurance, that's coming down the pike in 28, and those types of things. So you're getting to a point where these companies aren't going to be able to fake it and say, oh, well, we're environmentally friendly, or we have a low impact, or we've done our own, authentication. What they're going to do is they're going to actually have validation that what they're doing from a reporting and communication to the customer is actually validated as part of the supply chain and as part of from a third party. So there's going to be a lot more detail in terms of supply chain costs, environmental emissions, the costs that are associated with the product, total traceability, what goes into that traceability. And that's a pretty, substantial effort for companies to do. Obviously that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. And this is very much where PIM steps in. Isn't it?
Right, absolutely. So it's so in order to do all this, of course, you need to have your data available. So that's absolutely important. You have to be in a position to calculate the relevant metrics and do this quickly. And at best also maybe also calculate several scenarios, like maybe if you improve here, then you might improve some results there and things like that. So what can you change in order to get better results? And then maybe what is the effort behind this? And all this is actually, it can be very difficult task, so extremely difficult if you kind of do this manually. So it all depends on data as usual, and it depends on executable data. And then you have your data readily available, so you have all the information about all your materials, you have information about production, you have information about your suppliers, you have information about the location of your suppliers, you have information on your transport and shipping routes and all this stuff for the different materials from different suppliers, etc. Then you can relatively easy analyze this data and then directly provide the required information also for third parties if needed to get approval and things like that. But you also come up with calculations to see where you can improve. And you can be super transparent also towards your clients and your customer base. So it's one thing to provide some general information, like we are acting environmentally friendly, we are caring for low footprint and things like that. That's one thing. So that's very easy to pretend this, but really to provide details, this is a different story. And also provide details directly on a product level. It's again a little bit different story, but this is simply what is required. And people are also more and more skeptical. They do not really trust everything. They check things out on the internet by themselves. They exchange information in different forums, social media, or whatever. So being really fully transparent, I think that's the best way to do it. So this might really create a competitive advantage if you do this and are consistent and complete and absolutely transparent with your information.
You know, it's interesting, Pio, that you mentioned AI. I know we did a series on AI. We were talking with a partner last night. Actually, we're working on several of these initiatives almost real time as we're talking. And one of the things that we were discussing is the utilization of AI for several things. Material substitution, which actually minimizes the carbon footprint and actually optimizes the design of the product set. And the other thing that we were looking at AI for was actually substitution in terms of transportation, because what you can do is you can actually use alternative transportation routes, which minimizes the footprint from a carbon emissions perspective. And so tying that information into the PIM is one scenario where it makes a lot of sense. The other thing that we were talking about is actually, and this is something that we do, we have a lot of building supply customers, and we have a lot of customers that are in the construction industry. And so what they're looking at is a combination of, you know, PIM and BIM, building information management systems, and as well as actual life cycle management with regards to the products. And so then you're actually looking at, well, what consumption is being done as we're building this, putting this project together and building this, you know, building essentially. And so you can use AI to actually maximize your design and, you know, optimize the product sets that you're utilizing in concert with PIM systems as well as BIM systems, and bringing it together for a construction project essentially.
Yeah, that's a very interesting application, but that makes perfect sense to involve AI for optimizing this. And I like that you emphasized, Juergen, you emphasized transparency there, because that's really something that customers value nowadays. It's not just about the regulators and, of course, the obligation to comply with certain legislations, but really, you know, it's a different customer compared to 10 years ago. Now they really want to know why you're sustainable, what makes a certain company sustainable, or what makes a certain product sustainable. So I feel like the ability to document this information, to have it correctly shared across the organization, you just can't be, you kind of can't be sustainable without it, can you?
Difficult. So really, really very hard. So yeah, I also think so. It's probably not possible. And as you were already saying, so transparency and accuracy, this is really what matters most. And and really not only really your customers, so everybody. So also investors everywhere. You really need to be as transparent as possible, provide as accurate information as possible, also demonstrate your success. Of course, you won't end up with a zero footprint product. So this is very unlikely. So there will always be some footprint, a little footprint. You're trying to reduce it as much as possible. You probably don't get there in one step. So it is, you improve and improve again and again and again. So also this is very important information that you demonstrate and you show, okay, so here we made some changes, improved again, 20% better. Here we made some changes and again, improved 30% better. And then really provide full information, as I already mentioned, also on a detailed product level, not general things what you as a company are doing, but this product, this has a carbon footprint X, this has, and so on. So really go into the details and tell the whole story. And I think this is absolutely great. And it is relatively easy to achieve, to be honest. It's not rocket science. So most of the data you need to do it, companies have already available. It is as usual. It is distributed among different systems. Some is here, some is there, some is somewhere else. Some is available from general public scientific databases. We get additional information, and if you just combine things in the right way, then you can actually calculate most of what you need and also do all sorts of improvements. So it is relatively easy, but you need support. You need the right tools in order to really execute this.
Yeah. And talking about tools and talking about what really enables from a technical standpoint to keep track of all of this, I wanted to ask you what kind of experience you have with your own customers that use your software, with situations where they use your software to back up their sustainability efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. So typically, as most of our customers, they have all the product information in our systems. They have the part and material information in the systems. They have the supplier information in the system. So this is already a lot. Then, especially in some industries, like for example, building and construction industry, it might also be the PIM, so building information modeling documents, also available, also attached to it. So this is then even more data. So this alone already allows you to do quite some calculations, analysis, etc., and get good results. But when you then combine it, and this is what they're doing, then combine it, for example, with other sources you do already have, like Al just mentioned, like for example with your logistics software, in order to get information on transport, shipping routes, and other things. Then you have this aspect as well. You can make it directly available in the PIM system, so no problem. You can also just connect to the other source and make those available in a kind of BI style thing. So typically it's directly integrated and connected and made available together with the rest of the information. Then you have actually most things available, and then of course you need your algorithms in order to do the calculations. So here we provide some features and functions in order to do it. We cooperate with some third parties who provide cool tools that have all this intelligence and algorithms integrated and provide you more or less immediate results, really immediately. So it's also the projects are typically relatively short. So we are not talking about months in order to get there. So we are more talking about a couple of weeks, and then you're done. Here really, so we were already discussing in some earlier sessions. Having a good master data management and PIM environment in your company means that you have executable data, you have complete data, you have high quality data available. And based on this data gives you flexibility. It means you can react fast to new requirements, whatever it is. It might be new channels, it might be new technology, whatever. So if you have high quality executable data, then you can just in relatively short time create whatever you need. And this is just an additional application. This is just you have the data, and on top of it, now you need to calculate your sustainability footprint, different metrics. You want to maybe do some calculation. What happens if you change several things? You might get AI involved in order to optimize things. So this is just on the feature side. So this is actually relatively easy. The hard part is, as usual, the data. And here, what we see is simply the companies already spend a lot of time and effort in order to get to this level on the data side. And so now just getting this extra value, this is relatively easy to achieve.
Yeah. And I see so many of the legislations that came out in the last period are somewhat similar in the sense that they kind of require your data to be in place and solid to begin with. And they kind of point out at the same thing. You've got to have PIM, MDM working. You have to have good data quality as the foundation. Then a compliance exercise is just an added thing, and it's no longer an enormous burden as it is. Instead, when you're looking at a compliance is an isolated effort to be compliant with a specific regulation.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's true. I do think, though, that there's additional requirement, and I think Juergen kind of alluded to it in terms of pulling and tying this stuff together. For example, like when you look at scope 3 as an example, which is really gets into the whole transportation cost and what's involved from the ecosystem and transportation. If you look at DPP, Digital Product Passport, one of the things that they're looking at with DPP is full traceability. So it's not just, hey, this is the product, this is what I say it is, these are the attributes, this is the supplier, this is this type of thing. It's actually, hey, what materials am I sourcing this from? How was it sourced? And then it's, how was it transported? I can look at the lockstep between point A and point B and point C, and if that logistical pattern changed, and what was the impact of that, type of thing. And so having that full gamut of information available as part of that is something that's going to be required. And the thing is, in most instances, that information is available. It's actually more available now than it was before. You can get into, Google and, you look at geolocations, all that. You pull the data and it's there. But it's actually combining it and having it available as part of that full life cycle and then presenting it to the consumer. So that's where we're at. And that's where more and more of a push is. And more of a push is also to the end consumer. So you have two pieces. You have one, which is the compliance piece and what you're doing within the organization. And then you have the consumer piece, who's consuming the product. And this goes back to what you asked about in terms of validation or authentication, that you're not just saying something, that you have the information that validates what you're saying is part of that product, and the traceability that's associated with that, which is all the big push with DPP. And so I think, that's a little bit of a nuance, but the information is there, and PIM is the avenue for that, because we're all about product. And so you need all that information within your product with the attributes and as you're sending it and communicating it to consumers, and you have to have that backed up. And that gets into, we already kind of talked about it, bill of material, ERP, logistics, that type of thing, as part of a universal communication to the consumer for sustainability.
Yeah. Talking about consumers, I was looking at a poll, a research by the Business of Sustainability Index, when they were asking consumers whether they were willing to spend to pay premium for a sustainable product. So what they found out was that particularly in people below 30, 77% of the respondents would be ready to pay premium. But 91% of the respondents couldn't identify what is a sustainable product and what's a sustainable company. That's quite an interesting poll. What do you think about that?
Yeah, actually, I think I fully agree with this result. So it's if you pay attention when you go shopping or something, then it's really usually very difficult. You might, of course, try every time you want to buy something, check it out on the internet. Maybe you find something about it. But if you don't do it, if you just from what you get information directly on a product and packaging, and so usually you can't tell, very difficult. And also if you do some research on the internet, again, it's difficult. So that's absolutely correct. So I fully agree with it. It doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, what this really tells me is, well, first of all, that there is a new generation that is very, very conscious about
Yeah.
sustainability, and it's only going to get more and more towards this end. And the second thing is that, yeah, there is a lack of ability to communicate information transparently. That people would like to buy from this company, but they just don't know whether this company is sustainable, which shows a massive loss of opportunity, in my opinion, for organizations, especially if they do have the data to back up their commitments.
No, I think I think you hit the nail on the head. I actually think, one of the things I see happening is I think more and more companies are going to, and this goes back to the insurance topic that I talked about. When you have a third party validating the fact that you what you say is what you are doing relative to the product, and then you communicate that to the market and it's validated, as opposed, because there have been instances of people who say things that isn't necessarily true, or even buying like carbon, forest chips that aren't true. The forest isn't. There's all types of things that come in the news that are not maybe less than scrupulous in terms of what's being communicated relative to your environmental status and sustainability. But I think the consumers want to engage in sustainable product sets. That's very clear. And so having that validation and having that information about your products and then communicating it to the market is going to present opportunities to companies. There's absolutely no question about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And the same thing holds true for buildings. I mean, you can see people get behind, in sustainable construction. People are, it's usually there's a news thing written up on it. People engage in that. They feel very good about it. It's a very positive thing for organizations and construction groups that are involved in green. Kind of like the green initiative in Europe that's being pushed. And so it's the Green Deal essentially is what they're calling it. So I think that's you're going to see more of that, but it comes down to communication and validation. I guess those are probably two things. And like Juergen said, the data is there, so now it's combining it and making it available.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think yes, we're going to move more and more towards these projects that have let's say a green heart backed up by data. And I think that this is a crucial time for organizations to be on top of this sort of revolution, right? Because, as we said before, most of the consumers still cannot identify sustainable companies. So this is really an opportunity for companies to, leverage the data that they have in order to appeal to the customers and appear as leaders on the market in their respective field. What do you think?
No question. I think so. If you look at it, and I've been kind of looking at the regulations and everything, I mean, ultimately, all companies are affected by this, okay? Except for, it's interesting with the European Commission, as I mentioned, they mentioned the battery technology, consumer electronics, and textiles is kind of like the first wave. But then the second wave gets into plastics, automotive. The only companies that were excluded were food, feed, and pharmaceuticals. That are, those are the only three industry verticals that are kind of been excluded from this. The rest of them are included. So it's just a question of when's it going to come and get you from a regulatory perspective, but more importantly, the consumers are going to demand it for these different companies, and that's going to happen sooner than later. So you better get ready to do it, and more importantly, take advantage of the opportunity because it's a differentiator.
Massive one, massive differentiator, indeed. So I'd like to get back to the regulations because that's again, we're going to see more of them coming. That's pretty obvious. And there is an aspect which is, of course, if you don't do this, there's a penalty. But before, You mentioned also, how this, for example, speaking about the ESG report, how this information are important for investors. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about how there is something beyond the fear of paying the fine when it comes to regulations?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it's this again just demand and market driven. So people are simply interested. They are concerned. They want to see that the industry is moving towards sustainability, environmental friendly technologies, etc. And so this is they simply want to put their money in those businesses and not in other businesses. And this again, of course, if the investors want to put some money in those topics, then of course the investment managers create the necessary tools. And when you create those tools, so you also need to think about how you do it. And typically, a good way to do it, an easy way to do it, is you create those investment tools based on some existing regulations. So, like if a company fulfills these and these regulations, then it is qualified. So then this is regarded environmental friendly. So then this is accepted. For example, to be invested in by a certain investment fund and things like that. So this is how also typically it is somehow tied together, as it is simply much easier to manage internally. Otherwise, you need to explain what you regard as being an environmental friendly business. So typically, you're really tied to existing rules and regulations and things like that. And I think this is a very important push in the market that we really see more and more investments being focused on this sustainability topic, because this again provides more capital to the companies who care for those topics and gives them more momentum. So here it's really from all sides it is pushing. And I think it's of course also motivated by the fact that there's so every month you read something in the papers and the internet about global warming, floodings in some areas, storms, strange weather situations, and all that stuff, pollution. So there's really a lot going on. So it is in the media all the time, really all the time. And then you have, especially you were mentioning, a younger generation below 30 care for it. Then you also have things like in Europe you have this Friday for Future movement and other movements, which is all about those topics. So it is simply everywhere, and of course it is when it's so many people behind a certain movement, then this is always also attractive. So beside the also their own interest coming from being maybe also very much focused on really helping environmental friendly industries and companies to be successful, there's really also this push from that there is a great market because this simply has a big momentum. So it's many people behind it. So if you want to get into the market, that is great for you. So also the investment community wants to get into this market, so they create the products. That is simply the situation.
I mean, it's pretty. It's easy to kind of see too. To simplify things, let's take batteries just as an example. So let's say you got battery company A, battery company B, battery company C, and you're an investment firm, a hedge fund, or and you say, okay, A is going to be ready for DPP by 2026, which is when compliance is. B isn't, and C isn't. Who am I investing in? A. I mean, it's very simple to see that if you're ready and you can be compliant and you're going to, so there's two aspects. One is you get the goodwill and you get the consumer and that type of thing. But the other is the cost of not being able to enter the European market because you don't have a passport, so you can't even do it. So you're excluded from that revenue stream. So, which is happening. You've seen that with other products. Yeah, hey, you can't go in here, you can go in there. And so you're going to see more of that. And companies and investors are going to be looking at who's ready, who's going to make the target, who's not going to make the target, and then who to invest in based on, readiness essentially. And that's going to be more and more of a push. So that's what we're seeing, which is why a lot of our customers and, building and construction, automotive, they're doing this stuff right now as we speak. I mean, this is where they're going.
Yeah. Al, can you move just a little bit on? Okay, now we can see all of you. I could.
Okay. I didn't know you. I didn't know. I didn't realize I was moving. Sorry about that.
Perfect. No problem. And I think it's only, you see, yes, there is new generation and newer generations, and the news talk about it, and it goes also beyond the global warming discussion, because one might even question the global warming discussion, but the fact that we shouldn't really pollute the planet is kind of unquestionable. It's and it's really something that new generations are united about. And sometimes, I hear, oh, this is a trend about investing in green companies, but I really don't think so. I really think there's going to be more and more of a unified view that every company should be green. Every company should be progressively making efforts to become more sustainable. What is your view? Do you think it's just a trend, or do you, or is this definitely a direction we're definitely going towards?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a long-term direction. So this is simply the way we go. I think this is absolutely clear. So this is not a short-term trend or short-term effect. So this is long-term, and it will become more and more important.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, I think it's not just, so what we've been talking about a lot is like carbon footprint, environmental kind of energy consumption, these types of things. But when you kind of look at DPP and even like the traceability to product, you're looking at like forever chemicals, what chemicals are part of this thing, the traceability to those chemicals, how do they pollute the groundwater? So that's not going away. I mean, and Europe is ahead of us in the US on a lot of these things. But it's coming, and actually California is ahead of everybody on a lot of these things. And so I think you're going to see more and more push, and it's not going away. I mean, not just it's not just about energy and carbon, and it's about all these other things that are important for the sustaining of the environment and for the future of where we're going. And I think there's going to be more regulation as opposed to less. That's my opinion.
And more investments.
Yes, no question.
Definitely. Now, I remember that the last time we talked about, when we had this session about why PIM projects fail, we talked about how to convince your stakeholders, how to convince the C-level as well to invest in PIM. Do you think sustainability can be part of the discussion? Can be a reason and a driver for investing in PIM and investing into MDM with stakeholders? What do you think?
Yes, I absolutely think so. Yes, absolutely. So investments in sustainability are simply so this is a no-brainer. So this is on everybody's table. Every company knows that this is a very important topic. And they need to do something here. We discussed the reasons, and and of course, PIM and MDM is exactly the right tools in order to get you in a position where you're kind of on the data side and on the analytical side, and the assessment side, you are really future-proof. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was going to say, there's no question. I think it's, as Juergen said, MDM and PIM are the kind of like the drivers. But what I would be making the argument to management about is not, waiting and hedging for the compliance aspect. I think what you talked about is the opportunity. It's getting to those consumers who want to buy and having that data so that they can, learn that you're environmentally part of the sustainable, offerings in the marketplace and having the data to back that up. And I think if you're in those positions, you're going to be able to capture market share and beat out the competitors and also get the investment and all the other stuff we talked about. But I think that that's part of the communication that should be there as well, to be opportunistic, essentially.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because if we keep looking at compliance issues singularly, solving them is just like putting a band-aid on, right? Whereas there is so much opportunities and so much that can be done to really have a leading position overall. Now, I'm also thinking when it comes to PIM, what else can be really what is beyond sustainability? What are the other things that companies can do greatly by investing into a PIM tool and in MDM?
Yeah, so if you kind of stick to this product-centric topic, then this, of course, also a great infrastructure for managing communication. As we were already discussing, communication is also super important regarding sustainability and also regarding everything else. And communication also involves transparency because, and for transparency, again, you need the information, you need the data. So when we are talking about this sustainability thing, so here, yeah, of course, you are mentioning that 91% or so of the people who are interested and willing to pay a premium on sustainable products struggle to identify those sustainable products. So here's really some gap at the moment. Like for example, when you buy some food, then you usually find immediately this is calories, sugars, fat, and all that. You find it. You see the percentage, how much is in. You have some feeling. Is it a lot? Is it not a lot? Is it good? Is it bad? In some countries, you already have some rating, like red, so maybe too much fat. Green, not so much fat, great for your health and things like that. So we do not really have that at the moment in different sustainability metrics. You might have some certain certifications and things like that. Yes. You might have some general thing as a company or whatever. But when you buy a toothbrush, do you have any idea what the carbon footprint of this toothbrush is? No. You have any idea how much non-renewable energy was used to produce it? You have any idea how much non-renewable materials, raw materials, are used to produce this, etc.? You don't know it. So there are definitively companies around who are thinking about just providing this information, just provide it. But then you need something to compare because you need to know, is it good or is it not good? So you also need to have some additional scheme in order to communicate. Is this great? Is this medium? Is it poor? And things like that. So just imagine if right now the topic is important, everybody's interested. Companies have to do it anyway because there's law, there's compliance, there's everything. Now you can, if you are really first mover and really aggressive communication, etc., then you can use it as a significant competitive advantage. You can simply be absolutely transparent. You can go into detail. You can provide detailed calculations on a direct product level. I think there are many people out there who are interested in this and who would consider it. And so this is what I was already mentioning. So with a PIM, you are simply in an MDM infrastructure and executable data. You are prepared to jump on new opportunities in the market very quickly and just do it and try it and see what happens. And I think something like this, for example, would be a great idea.
Yeah. It's interesting how, PIM, MDM used to be very much of an IT topic. And now, we are talking about sustainability. Before we talked about AI. It is definitely something, a PIM project is also something that helps marketing massively if we're speaking about communication. So it really touches, it really connects everything that companies are interested in doing right now.
No,
Yes, and it gets your products into the digital channels. What is also super important, right? It provides you a kind of digital twin of your real product, and this is what you need in order to sell. And this digital twin does also include the sustainability information.
I mean, I think you hit on a very interesting topic. I mean, and it's something that we see all the time. So the two, and we've talked about some of this in the past, but I think it's very applicable, is that first, it's real time. And secondly, it's operational. So in the past, MDM and PIM, well, not as much PIM, but MDM and product data was a lot of times analytical, after the fact, historical, doing reports out of a data warehouse, kind of consolidating the master product information and making it available. Now it's operational. So you want to have real time, you want to have complete supply chain visibility, you want to be able to have the digital assets for those specific product sets and send them out to different channels for communication to everybody. And as that stuff is being updated, it's being made available in real time with real-time updates and real-time attributes and real-time components to that product. I didn't really mention that, but one of the things that is also part of this whole digital product passport regulatory requirement is not just the finished goods. It's all the components that are associated with the creation of the finished goods. So you have to maintain information about everything that's part of, whether that specific, if you're doing a bundle, if you're doing a kit, if you're doing something, everything that's associated needs to be maintained. And PIM is extremely good at that. Relationships, information as it pertains to all those subsets, the digital information that's associated with that and making it available to consumers. I mean, that's what PIM and MDM is. And so more and more companies are pushing for operational, real-time, pushing of having these updates be made available and then getting it out to the things that are there. And that's one of the differentiators we see in terms of dynamic data modeling and modifications on the fly, something that is really pushed for.
Very good. Very good. Well, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Of course, if anyone wants to know more about Viamedici, if anyone wants to know more about PIM, learn how to connect it to sustainability and the many other things that we have discussed today, what are the best way to reach out to you?
So the best way is to look at our website, Viamedici.com, or to go to our LinkedIn site or Global Viamedici, and those actually are in the comments section. They're being updated as we speak, or they can reach out to Juergen or myself directly, or our sales team. So those connections will be there. But I encourage you guys to engage in the LinkedIn and website, because we're updating a lot of these things and we're leading edge on several of the topics, obviously AI, sustainability, a number of the things we see our customers dealing with, digital shelf, those types of things.
Absolutely. And I also invite people to, you have these videos, your YouTube channel, obviously, and we have the whole series as well of sessions on artificial intelligence where we talked about ethical implications, we talked about data privacy, we talked about PIM. Pretty much we covered many of the most crucial topics that that we have this year. I invite everyone to check us out, watch from the comfort of their home, and of course I invite everyone to stay with us and wait for the next session that we're going to have again in the upcoming month. I want to thank you both. It was a great time. Any last words from you?
I'd like to thank everybody for participating. And obviously, this is a topic that we see quite a bit. It's not going away. So it's kind of my last comment. Educate yourself. We've talked about that on several different topics, but happy to point you in the right direction, even for independent study if you're interested. So just reach out to us and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for listening. It was a pleasure to be here.
Until next time then. Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.